Hey guys, how you doing? I hope everything is well. Man, it's a little dark in here. Let's see, lighten up the mood a little bit. Yeah, hold on a second. Hey guys, how you doing? I hope everything is well. Man, it's a little dark in here. Give me a second here. I'm getting some feedback. There we go. All right. There we go. How you doing? Hope everything is well. In keeping with my promise to try to do more frequent streams, here I am again. So I have an article that I found. I did a quick overview. I agree with much of what was said, but I'll inject my own opinion, and then we'll do a little Q&A, and we'll move on from there. Let's just jump into it. There we go. So core piece from 2020, May 22, so last year. A little less. Anyway, how can I become a good programmer after only 1 year? My team and I interview hundreds of developers and designers every year. Through this, I've noticed that many of the best programmers share similar characteristics. If you want to become a good programmer, I suggest adopting these characteristics, which I have listed below. All right. Have a positive attitude. Interesting how that's the first thing he says, right? It doesn't matter how hard you work. If your attitude is bad, you won't get very far. It's important to show that you care about your work and that you're willing to go the distance to get the job done. A good way to keep a positive attitude is to work on projects that are interesting to you. It sounds obvious, but many people will agree to roles they have no interest in. Playing it safe won't make you a great developer. Foster deep knowledge. Carefully select the technologies you want to work with. Aim to become an expert in a couple, but competent in many. So you specialize, and then you have your peripheral technologies that you work on. That's exactly what I did. My specialty was Java, and then I branched out into all kinds of different directions. Research skills carefully. You can future-proof your career. I've answered a question above this on core, which you may want to take a look at. I've always follow coding standards and write code that is understandable and commented where necessary and can be passed on to someone else easily. This was always important in the remote age. It is essential. So again, everything that so far I've been teaching people for a while. I've been on this channel. Keep up to date with new technologies. There is no point in being an expert in dated technology. You should be highly competent with agile, task manager software, version control, and different environments, local development environments, and working knowledge of deploying applications. This actually really depends on where you work. You learn Git and version control, and maybe, whatever, Slack or something. And then from there, depending on where you get a job, you can learn whatever supporting technologies that they're going to be using. Learning ability. Every programmer will experience a situation where they don't know an answer. The great programmers will work to find that answer. They will look at different resources, talk to the right people, and find solutions no matter what. Great developers have mastered the skill of self-learning. Yeah, it's something I talk about a lot where, for me, from my experience as a developer going back to the 90s, a big part of your job as a professional is to learn new things as you go. So that's great because that means you don't have to know everything getting into it, which is impossible, and that means it gives you an understanding of how to sort of proceed in the development world. Just go on. Another thing I talk about all the time, communication skills. Good communication skills directly correlate with good development skills. The ability to communicate is crucial for understanding problems clearly, being able to break them down into hypotheses and propose solutions in a coherent manner. You should be able to learn concepts quickly, and yes, this is a skill that improves through practice. If English is not your first language, make sure you know it well and can communicate it effectively. In the world of technology. English is the de facto language of most documentation and developer interactions. If you don't speak it well enough, interpreters or translators may be required, making your knowledge secondhand and easily outdated. Time management. It is important to be reliable and show up at meetings on time. If you want to be great at what you do, you should be able to manage your time effectively. Another vital skill is the ability to estimate the amount of time needed to complete a task, communicating this and delivering upon this. That's why, that particular last point, that's why in my, when I teach people freelancing, I provide a task tracker template, which is basically a spreadsheet that lists all the common tasks that you're going to have to manage as a freelance developer. And I teach people to track everything, the phone calls, the emails that you send, the time you spend coding, the time you spend designing, etc., etc., etc. When you do detailed tracking of a few projects, your ability to estimate time it takes to complete a new project will get much better. So it's very important, especially people who have that, my freelance course or people in the mentoring group, very important that you use that time tracker template. Team player. Here we go. Great developers help other developers improve. They offer teammates help when they are stuck. Teach new skills to others and write documentation that would help teammates not only in their organization but the developer community in general. One thing you're going to learn is when you teach people, it forces you to refine your own understanding of software. So I started teaching people a long time ago, and it forced me to get really deep into some basic concepts like object orientation and design patterns and just even what a variable is, etc. So it helped me get a deeper understanding overall. So being what's the word I'm looking for? Being responsible to help people out around you develop their own coding skills will make you a better coder. Expertise is overrated. As much as specific skill expertise is important, it shouldn't be the single factor you focus on. A great, insert any skill here, we'll say a great JavaScript programmer, a great JavaScript developer is not necessarily a great developer, or a great Python developer is not necessarily a great developer. It's the addition of the soft skills, that's communication, etc., above that make them great. The ability to learn quickly and jump into a project seamlessly to help others out, to always have a great attitude. These are skills that make you invaluable to a business. Consider implementing some or all of these characteristics, and you can easily become a good, if not great, programmer much faster, even within a year, but it depends on how much work you will do in that year, of course. So there you go. So that's the basis of the article. We'll see if there's any interesting comments. There's no point on being an expert in data tech. Makes sense. Then you say, all right, let's see what this is. Agile started decades ago, like the 70s. Task managed software. So task management is a shiny new thing that only new devs know about. Version control, that's been around since the 80s. Okay, so there's a little criticism. Yeah, I can criticize that too. I won't go beyond that with that. You know, as I've said, you know, most of the development these days are using very old technologies. The top 10 languages are all very old languages: Java, C#, PHP, C++, C, Python. These are all top languages. JavaScript, they're all 20, 25, 30 years old languages, right? So, you know, that we'll take that one comment with a grain of salt. But, you know, everything else I tend to agree with. And if you've been watching my channel a while, you know, I basically been preaching these things for a while. You notice when you when you read articles from experienced developers or experienced managers, they tend to focus on what I focus on. And when you hear noobs, they tend to focus on, like, this language is better than that language, or you got to learn this library, you got to learn that library. The libraries and the languages are secondary to the skill set. They're just the tools. All right. There you go. So we got that done in about 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Good. Let me get to some questions, And if you do like this stream, please do give it a thumbs up. I've never seen it this way, but that's actually a good example of strong habit. I know what we're talking about. I'm halfway through conversation here. Let me scroll up here. Hey, Stefan, I want to point out that we, Muslims, we fast for a month, 29, 30 days, each and every year from our puberty to the end of life, with some exceptions for the sick and fragile elderly. Yeah, it's a good habit. It's a good habit. I do intermittent fasting, and it really helps me with my overall health. So all the major religions, I think, in the world, they do some sort of fasting in some form or another. So people have figured out a long time ago that fasting is actually good for you. Thanks for letting me know. Good question. But what actually is a good programmer? I think we did that already. Let's scroll down. Hi, Stefan. What's your opinion about VLAN? I've never seen it, so I have no comment on it right now. Decent list, except for stuff like Jira and Agile. That is trivial stuff that can be learned on the job. I agree 100% with that. I think the major points, though, were accurate, though. I think we could all agree on that. I've never seen it this way. Okay, whatever. Absolutely, teaching others helps you reinforce your understanding. That's something actually in Asian martial arts, a part of the tradition. Whether you learn a Kung Fu, White Crane, Hapgar, Hongar, whatever, or even Japanese martial arts, I think Japanese as well. A big part of the training, the tradition, is that when you get to be a mid-level or junior teacher or junior instructor, junior sifu, maybe it's called sigung, I forget the term now all of a sudden. Anyway, big part of the training is actually you training others, because it forces you to examine your own movement and your own understanding of things when you're teaching people. So that's an Asian tradition that part of your learning is to teach others. So it works. It's not just something, it works in martial arts, also works in programming, of course. I hate JS after Python. Teaching is awesome for the teacher and the student. Jay is great. I teach my manager React.js every Thursday. Helps me improve my presentation skills and reinforce what I have learned that week. Fantastic. Yeah, that's it. Exactly. And it creates good relationship with your coworker there, with your manager. So that's cool. What's going on here? All right. Hey, Jax, how are you, man? Hi, Stefan. I'm taking a job at my college for an internship. However, it is not a programming internship. It is a job teaching code to students. How does this compare in post-graduation? I don't know what you mean by compare, but it's good. Listen, it's good experience. Learn how to you'll learn how to teach a little bit, because teaching kids are the hardest to teach. And will help you to get better understanding of what you're talking about. How beginner is your course? Which one? My beginner's course start off very, very, very beginners. Whether it be the HTML, the CSS, or the JavaScript, or the PHP, or the Python, there's an assumption that you have not written code before. Except the CSS course, I assume you know HTML, and the JavaScript course, I assume you know HTML and CSS, but you don't. I assume in the JavaScript course, for example, that you've never programmed before. So I hope that helps. And it takes you about to intermediate level. And I'm about to release some updates to them. I'm calling them the pro courses now. The foundations are going to be wrapped with pro content, which is just everybody will get them. So don't worry about that. Farid says, please, I have a question. What does it take to build a blog website from scratch? HTML, CSS, JS, what more? And PHP is still a good choice for backend. Thanks so much. Yep, those are all good. They all come in. I think depending on how you want to develop your blog, you could use a server-side language like PHP or Python, but those are good. But if you're doing a blog, I would just use WordPress it's there. But if you're doing it as an exercise, then why not, Need to nerd, exactly. A lot of these stuffs are need to nerd. What personal characteristics is more important in programming, conscientiousness or creativity? Or creativity? That's a good point. I think it would be if you mean by conscientiousness, meaning, being disciplined, being detail-oriented, making sure you write good code, hit your deadlines, I would say that's more important. According to your experience in the industry, what is the best back-end programming language for you? It depends what you're doing, It's all environment-based. So if you're working at a big Java place, then it's going to be Java. If we're working at a big .NET place, it's going to be .NET. For small startups, I prefer PHP overall. For small startups, my second choice would probably be Python Django. I was going to say Node.js, although when I looked at Node a while back, it was such a mess, the dependencies and so forth. I decided not to use it. And apparently the founder of Node, he went off and founded a competitor called Deno, because I guess he agreed with me. Well, he came to the same conclusions that Node became too much of a mess to work with, so he had to come up with his own framework, a new one. So take it for what it is. I haven't looked at Node closely in a while, though. Thanks for your great advice, Mr. Stefan. I am going through a CS degree now. I can't help but feel that I am still going to need another year or two of coding practice before being marketable after a complete of a degree. What you should be doing now is writing code on your own time. Spend 20 minutes a day doing a little bit of coding so that when you come out of school, you will have done a bunch of coding, do some freelance work, etc., etc., etc. Let me do a little shameless self-promoting, some plugs here. Well, it's actually free stuff, so I guess it's not really. So I have this thing called the Coder's Career Path. The links are below. You sign up. You get a free, F-R-E-E, a free 29-minute video. And in this video, I outline your coder's career path. I look at different languages, and I teach you how they impact the type of job you get and the type of coding you would do. So as a quick example, if you're doing C++, that's a whole different type of coding than if you're doing JavaScript or if you're doing Python. And likeliness, you'll be working at a different type of business. Anyway, so this free 29-minute webinar video will teach you all that. I'm setting up newsletters because I just want to be in direct contact with everybody, because I hear from people all the time. They don't get the notifications from YouTube. Since I'm on this page, if you want to learn some soft skills, psychological skills, this is free. It's called Lizard Wizard KOMODO, and it's an email-delivered set of psychological training tasks. There we go. You get one every 3 days, some simple thing to do that is fun and will also help you start training your lizard brain, your lizard mind. Again, it's free. Just take a look at that. So I just wanted to shamelessly promote that one. Where can I learn advanced C++? Oh, there's many places. Just start writing code, dude. Well, in terms of how employers view the job experience compared to programming in a workplace, okay, I missed the context there. Do you have a course on freelancing? I do, Niao. Just go to my Studioweb store, link below. You can find it there. Thanks, Vigs, for the super chat. Coffee on Vigs. I don't want to get, I was going to say your full call name, but I don't want to get in trouble with the YouTubes. Stefan, how do you battle through tough days? One day at a time, dude. Take your time, If something's really getting on my nerves, I go for a walk. I go grab a coffee, stretch, do a little exercise, Arjun from London. Hey, from London, Steph, when is the Discord server starting? I'll try to get something out this week. No promises, but I'll try to get something out this week. Let's see what we got here. I recently went to DevDocs and saw that there are a lot of attributes and elements for each language. How much is actually necessary to get the job and know what I'm doing? Well, that's the thing. Something I talk about Universal Tech, that you only need to know a very small subset of each of the languages. There's no coder out there who knows everything. When you start really getting into something, so let's say once you start actually coding professionally in whatever language, JavaScript or Python, your skills will increase quite a bit as you're writing real software. But I can tell you from hard experience, if you, let's say you spend 2-3 years writing JavaScript full time, you're going to become a JavaScript master. You'll know it like the back of your hand. And then you go do, I don't know, whatever you did, go do Python for a year, you're going to forget a lot of the JavaScript. That's normal. But the key is once you understand programming, once you understand the basic idiosyncrasies of each language, you'll be able to jump back on them again. So don't be intimidated by all that. You don't really need to know all that. You just need to know how to build things and be able to find answers to things. Node doesn't have a popular batteries included framework as good as Laravel or Django. Huh? I don't know. Well, Express is supposed to be pretty good, right? I read an article the other day that said you shouldn't become a full stack developer, either focus on front end or back end, as no one really hires for full stack. What are your thoughts on that? BS. I call BS on that. Depends on the type of job you're working at. Maybe for large organizations, but not for small and not for freelancing. Is web dev job market saturated? No. Additional question. Do you advise learning Azure? Only if there's a demand for it. If you have a job lined up for it, then learn it. If not, don't. It's a need to nerd tech. I have two silos in terms of technologies. I have the core tech, right? And I have the need to nerd silo. Need to nerd stuff is stuff you learn when something comes up where you have to learn it. I would put Azure in that. I would put a NoSQL database in that. I would put, Linux, understanding Linux directory structure into that. But core technology is understanding, basic programming, understanding basic concepts of software development, refactoring, that kind of stuff. I hope that makes sense. How are we doing for time? All right, 30 minutes. 1-3. Thank you for your advice last time. PHP was my first lang. I love it because it's fast to write. Now that I have learned Java EE, Spring Boot, like the strict types and the consistency it provides. Yeah, I can understand that without a doubt. Beli Mohammed Ali. Hi Stefan and hi everyone. Where to start if you want to learn PHP as a web developer back end mostly, and thanks for your help. Well, just check out my PHP course. You can try that out. You probably learn a lot right there. Do you consider OSS sector as a promising career path? OSS? I don't know what that is. Give me the acronym. So what your back-end language suggestion for middle startup company? Middle startup company. It depends on what your app is going to do. If you're doing a lot of interfacing with an AI layer, then it's probably Python, Django. If you're going to be dealing with Microsoft technologies, then it would be .NET. If you're going to be if you just want something light and nimble, I would do PHP. They're all good. It all depends. Depends on the type of project you are working on. What was 20-year-old Stef doing in those days? I was running my first business, which had nothing to do with technology. Stefan, is it better to do form validation through PHP or JavaScript? Is one better than the other for this purpose? You do JavaScript up front for speed, but you have to do PHP or some server-side validation for security purposes. So you just kind of do both. So you do the JavaScript, so you get that instant feedback to the client. So you can display things, like please fill in this form element here, etc. But when you do send that information, when you post it back to the server, you better check it again with PHP because JavaScript can be overridden on the browser. So I hope that makes sense. Can't wait for the Discord. So a lot of you, give me how many are 147? Please give me some likes if you like this. Also, if you want a Discord server, I'm doing little, rough polls here. Say Discord in the comments. And so if I get, it encourages me to go through the effort because I never used Discord before, so I have to set it all up. Let's see what makes someone a junior? Also, I think companies are asking too much for junior jobs. What do you think? Yeah, it's a cliche. It's, for lack of better terms, it's a stereotype that companies will ask for a whole bunch of skill sets that is just unrealistic, especially from juniors. This is very common. It happened in the 90s. We used to laugh about it, you know. We want everybody to know C++, C, Java, JavaScript, C#, .NET, have 10 years of experience in each. Also, you built mobile apps and back-end software, and you were a part of the Microsoft team, and you built Windows 3.1. You know, that, I'm exaggerating, but that's kind of these silly requirements, because HR departments, they would look through, go to Google, what are the top languages? And they'll just list all the languages and the requirements. It's less silly when you go work for smaller companies, but don't worry about that. You can watch my back catalog. I'm not going to rehash it here, but I talk about how to prepare for jobs and so on. Yeah. What's up? Okay. Why did you pick Vue over React or another framework for Studioweb, Stef? I looked it over very quickly. I looked at Vue, I looked at React, I looked at Angular. Angular, it was just too bureaucratic, and then they went from, I know at the time they were moving from 2 to 3, and I knew, because 3 was a total rewrite and wasn't ready, I knew that 2 was a garbage. When they totally trash a previous version, that's a good indicator of what's going on. And I just found Vue to be a cleaner implementation, and ultimately, because Laravel, which is the back-end framework we use for the current Studioweb, it implements Vue directly. So I said, makes sense. So we just use Vue. But they can all produce good product, right? Is the mentoring program for people who have already taken your courses? It's for everybody. The biggest value of the mentoring program is the totality of it, the biweekly Zoom meetings, the access to all my soft skill courses, Lizard Wizard, and freelancing, the entrepreneur, the money course, access to all the new material. We have a whole bunch of recorded Zoom meetings in there. Just listening to those, there's a lot of value in those, because people come to me with great questions, and I answer the questions. We've done site reviews, et cetera, et cetera. So the mentoring program is a whole bunch of things put together. It's not just the courses. It's as close to a full university experience, but from somebody who actually, has been in the industry for 20 plus years. Good question. Hi, Stef. I'm from Hungary. What do you think about networking and system administration skills behind web dev? Is it useful, worth to invest some time into? Need to nerd technology, a need to nerd skill set. I would work on becoming a more refined coder, work on your communication skills more. Now, let me just do a little share. So yeah, Lizard Wizard KOMODO, this is for the training. This is free. You sign up newsletter, you get your daily spells. Well, it's actually every 3 days. It's based on this psychology training course, Lizard Wizard. This isn't free. It's going to break the bank at $19.99. So you can check that out if you want. Now, why did I go here? Yeah, I have my mentoring program. Somebody mentioned it. I opened it up a little bit now. This is my most comprehensive training. This is lifetime access to all this stuff. You can check it out. Link is below. If you're looking for the full, complete training experience, coding and then software development and getting jobs and freelancing and business and life skills and money management skills, it's all in here. Pretty much downloading my lifetime of experience into this program. It's up to, so figure I'd save you guys a couple of decades, right? All right, what else? Is Vue considered easier to learn over React, but both are good? Vue is considered easier to learn over React. Yeah, that's pretty much accurate. I would agree with that. Hello, Stef. Any suggestions from the idea of the project to implementation and steps for building the software? Yeah, I talked about that at length. MVP is the key, minimum viable product. You want to get your first version out as quickly as possible. That's why when building web apps these days, I rather use the so-called scripting language, a PHP, a JavaScript, a Python, rather than Java or C#. Java, C# is great, but I just want something nimble and quick. You want to get it out the door as quickly as possible so you can get your users using your product, so then you have a better understanding of the use case so you can start really building your app. There you go. There you go. All right. I got to ban Matthew. Ban. Where's the ban button? Okay, I'm just kidding. Open source software. So what was your question about open source software? Let's see if I can find it. No, you're going to have to post it again. Hey, please suggest someone who just start the journey to IT sector. Cannot understand what do I really want to code. Thanks in advance. Start with the basics. Just do my my WebStack course and you'll learn a lot. Hold on. Let me check them. Hold on. There we go. Getting a little dark in here. Sun's going down. I think 90% of Vue users only use it because of Laravel. Could be. I don't know. Laravel is pretty big. All right, how we do for time? All right, we'll be wrapping this up. Trying to keep these shorter. How can we be good programmer despite of these very basic subjects we have in school? If self-learning, then how to better plan our time for that? All right, I appreciate that. Farid. Did I say that? Farid. What I would suggest is that for real coding, plan 20 minutes a day. I know it doesn't seem like much, but there's a reason for it. Do 20 minutes a day. Say, I'm going to just do 20 minutes. When you finish school, about to go to sleep, break out your code editor and write whatever, just whatever language you happen to be learning, whether it be Python or JavaScript, whatever. Just write a little bit of code, write a little, for 20 minutes. And after 20 minutes, you're tired, you want to go to sleep, or you had enough. You've done your 20 minutes. You've accomplished your goal for today. You can say, good, I did my goal for today. You keep doing that every day. Some days it will be 20 minutes. Some days you may end up doing 45 minutes an hour. You do this 4 days a week. You keep progressing that way. And you'll see very slowly, step by step, you start understanding more and more and more. And all of a sudden, 20 minutes will easily become 40 minutes, an hour. And instead of writing 500 lines of code, all of a sudden you'll be writing 1,000 lines of code or 2,000 lines of code very easily. It's all about practice. It's all about practice. The analogy I always tell people, when I wanted to learn how to fight, I went into boxing. I got in the ring. I would fight 20, 25 rounds a week. And that was, the first time I got in there, I got a beating, no question. But every time I got in the ring, I got a little bit better, and then it became second nature for me. And that's what you got to do with coding. Being persistent and doing a little bit every day goes a long way. So that's my suggestion. I have 15 years in the industry, and all my experience is exclusively Swift. Oh, there you go. That's wow. Swift. 15 years in the industry, all my experience is exclusive. Swift is not 15 years old, so I'm not sure if I understand that. Night Stef, I caught another of your streams. Well, thanks for joining the streams. I think I speak for everyone when I say it's so great you're doing more streams. I appreciate that, Arjun. I'm glad you guys like them. I laid off them for a little while, but I'm back, so that's why I'm trying to get them back up. We used to get, before I think our streams were in the 300 concurrent viewers, sometimes 400. I'm not sure. It's been a while. So I want to get them back up to that level and much higher now. All right, so what's going on now? Okay, 44 minutes. Tips for boosting developer productivity. Tips for... Let me try one last time. Tips for boosting productivity as a developer. Yes. Go to Lizard Wizard. Take Lizard Wizard KOMODO, and it's free. Sign up, and you start getting your Lizard Wizard training tips, and you will boost your productivity as a coder. Link is below the video, of course. All right. TypeScript, you use it for more complex and larger applications. Will it replace JavaScript anytime soon? I don't think so. I wonder to know if you would add React.js training. Not anytime soon, because once, especially when I put out my updated JavaScript Pro plus ES6, that's coming out very soon. You'll be able to learn React on your own in very short order. I'll make it easy. You're signing up this coming weekend. Well, welcome to the group, man. Appreciate it. Next, do we have? I think this coming Sunday we have a Zoom meeting, so you'll be in time for this. We have 2 Zoom meetings a month. I made a Java desktop game with 21,000 lines of code. Is that enough for a portfolio to get a job? If the type of coding you did aligns with the place you want to work for, yeah, for sure. All right. How we do for time? 46 minutes. Okay, we'll wrap it up. Hello from Tunisia. Hey, cool, man. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Boom. Okay. Based on 2 and 3, do you have an opinion on Spring Boot versus Laravel Symfony? No, I generally, for new application development, I keep away from Java. I just find it a little bit too verbose, even though I've cut more lines of code with Java than any other language. So for that reason alone, I would be leveraging Laravel. Spring Boot is elegant as it uses annotations. Is there anything that, apart from reputation, that still makes big comps use J? Yeah, big companies will use Java because they have an infrastructure, an investment in Java, and they're not going to want to dump millions and millions of dollars worth of code for what will be minor savings. Because when you rewrite something from scratch, woohoo, or you start bringing in new technologies which you have to maintain, it's very, very difficult. So I hope that helps. Thanks for the heads up email, Stef. Sometimes I miss these sessions, real hard to catch in time. Very good. So you got the newsletter. So I sent out a newsletter today, I think for the first time, to let people know about the stream. I'm going to start trying to be more disciplined about that. So if you're on one of the newsletters, the coding newsletters, you get that. I'm tired after a whole weekend of coding. Take a break. Take a break. Kind of right. That's good. Good work, man. How do you think someone should code? How long? 3-4 hours a day of hardcore coding. Swift is like 6 years old. Yeah, maybe a joke though. It must be. Send you love from Iraq. Ali Akbar. Thanks for joining the stream, dude. Cool. That's one of the things. You have a great camera and mic, Stef. Hey, no thanks. Yeah, well, I wish I made them. I just paid for them. But thanks. Yeah, I'm always trying to improve the quality. Always trying to, every day, just a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Should I sign with Ravature? I don't know what that is. I like Java, and I know it. I want to learn Android. Do you think I should learn Kotlin for developing apps? Well, Android support of Java is not going away anytime soon. So if you want to get into Android development because it's your personal interest, then do it with Java. But I know that Google is now favoring Kotlin over Java for a number of reasons. So keep that in mind. One thing I learned for over 7 years of experience in the IT industry: never stop learning. Yeah, it's just common. It's common. But Steph forgot to read the one line below. It said it was a joke. I just started self-learning. Okay, there you go. I got so many comments. I'm just trying to jump. I just jump around a little bit just see if I get as many. For mobile programming, don't think the question soon will be Kotlin versus Flutter, Dart. I think for game development, I think native is still going to be dominant for game development, but that's a very small part of mobile development. But important though. Do you recommend a master's degree in CS if the bachelor's degree is not in the same domain? I don't. That's a very good question. It depends where you want to work. Larger organizations will require some sort of degree, but I imagine a lot will say, as long as you have a degree, it doesn't matter if it was different, and you can show some good experience with your coding ability. There's a lot of, it's not an easy answer on a quick stream, but that's in a nutshell. Hello, man. I'm a new programmer. Could you give me some tips, please? Yes. Tip is to go here. You can go to Lizard Wizard Komodo, but you can sign up to my CODER'S Career Path webinar. It's free. Link below. You got a 29-minute video where I go into all kinds of detail about the software development business and industry and jobs, so you understand that whole thing. That's my tip. All right, so let's scroll down. I'm going to finish off the stream. Is PHP still the best language to learn and apply for back-end developer? Please advise. Thanks. I don't know if it's as I said, there's no best language. Depends on what type of work you want to do. But for freelance development, it's the king. PHP is the freelancing king. That's what I say. Web security, okay. Thanks, bro. You're my idol. Hey, thanks a lot. I appreciate that. What's the best language for 3D animation? It depends on the type of animation. You can do WebGL now with JavaScript. It's very powerful. If you want to build a 3D engine, a 3D animation engine, that would be C++, maybe C#. And there's Sadiq. I would recommend that, generally speaking. Generally speaking. All right, guys. That's it, 50 minutes. I'm trying to keep these shorter so I can do more often. Thanks for joining the stream. If you do like the stream, please do give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in good books on refactoring, beginners, web design, check out the links below. And yeah, okay, one more question from Ali here. Quick question. I just want to know your opinion. What do you think about Chinese industries in respect to tech? Do you think Western countries will pass them? It's hard what you say. The Chinese do good work now, but the innovation tends to come from the West. So we'll have to see what will happen there. I hope that the Chinese can innovate fantastic, and I hope the West can continue to innovate fantastic. I hope Iraqis can get into the game of innovation and coding. I'm sure they can. So I hope everybody can jump in, because the more people participate in that regard, the better off the world is. So I'm happy that Asia has really grown quite a bit in the last 30 years. And I can't wait for the Middle East and Africa. They're growing really quickly too now. So that's great for everybody, right? All right. So thanks for coming to the stream, guys. We'll talk soon. See you, Christy. How are you? And yeah, I got a bunch of notifications I got to take care of. So we'll talk soon. Ciao, guys.